Hey everybody, welcome to Klaus to the Heart here on YouTube.com. I'm Jason Klaus. In just a couple of minutes, you are going to hear and see my interview that I conducted earlier with Jason Mudge, a longtime friend of mine and somebody that I have just an absolute boatload of respect for. And he is really the epitome of kind of the topic that I wanted to touch on the show here. It's a topic that I have tackled from a few different angles on the podcast, but really wanted to do something more in depth for the YouTube show, and I thought that Jason was the perfect person to bring on the show this week in kind of tying in with the topic. The topic really is perseverance and determination. I mean, it's those things that I've talked about extensively, either in previous episodes here or on the podcast. But we're coming into a new year now, and one where people really are looking for that fresh start. And so I was very fortunate to be able to sit down with Jason and kind of catch up. It's the first time we've actually seen each other and had a full-blown conversation in many years. So with that, the Klaus to the Heart show starts right now. YouTube.com. I'm Jason Klaus. I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your week to give the show a watch, and I'm very excited about this week's episode. I have with me a very special guest, and truth be told, this is the first time that my guest and I have had an opportunity to actually see each other and have a full-blown conversation probably since 1994. With me is my friend Jason Mudge. And now, Jay, first of all, I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to come onto the show here. It's been a long time coming. We've talked about doing this for a while now. So now that we've been able to actually make it happen, number one, brother, it's awesome to actually see you. And how are we doing today?
Everything's great. Thank you. And I got to tell you, thank you for having me as a guest. It means a lot, Jason. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is all mine, brother. And, you and I have we've gone back and forth through text messaging, through Facebook Messenger, this type of thing. But you and I, we've actually known each other for quite a while. I mean, we went to school together. And,
Yes.
As life happens, you went one way, I went the other, and we lost contact. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring you on the show this week is I've had a reoccurring topic on my show, and the one thing is I like to put spotlight on people who are making a positive impact on other people's lives. You certainly, friend, you fit that bill. And more importantly, this particular week we're kind of tackling the topic of when we're met with certain challenges and certain obstacles, how we combat those. You and I are a lot alike in a lot of ways, and in terms of when we are met with a challenge, we use that as kind of our motivation to inspire other people.
Definitely.
Now, because we had lost contact for for quite a while. It was with the unfortunate circumstance of a tragedy that you and I were able to reconnect, and that was with the loss of my brother.
Yes,
And
sir.
you had reached out to me, you had reached out to my sister-in-law, and since then we've been able to reconnect on a personal level. And um, I didn't realize, though, Jay, that at the same time, while you are inspiring me and you are inspiring other people who were dealing with this, you yourself were battling very much the same thing. And, so kind of talk me through real quick, what have you been up to since high school and leading up to this point?
Well, coming out of high school, I went to Ferris State for a couple of years, entered in construction management, and since it was, we graduated in '94, so I was in there and just kind of going through it, and then actually in '96, I left. I didn't finish a degree. My dad was at the time, which I don't even know if you know this, Jay, but at '96, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And so I had kind of dropped out, or, just kind of took a layoff of going to college. And then my father ended up passing away in '96. And that kind of turned into just doing more of the construction thing. And I kind of fell into the loop of that was a job then, instead of trying to go back to college and try to, make things work again. I just ended up being in construction. And that was about it. It just seemed like then it turned into an everyday thing. And then before I knew it, that was just what I did. And then just small things, which kind of go through life, where you end up moving out and getting a house, and then kind of, just doing your regular everyday things. Actually, I was married for a little bit. I had a great girl, but things just didn't work out, which seems to be too common, unfortunately nowadays.
Sure.
But yeah, and then just probably been about 6 years, this past 6 years that I've been single, and just kind of still just doing the everyday life, just doing the construction thing. Always loved working out, but I've been taking it a little bit more serious lately. But yeah, just kind of falling into the everyday life, but it's been good. That's the beautiful thing, man, is, it's like we all face these little problems and face stuff that goes wrong, but just knowing that how blessed you are, and how blessed to see your friends succeed, and knowing that things change, and, everything's going to be picked back up, and things like that. But yeah, that's just about it, kind of living a regular life. And I just fell into the construction and training people and stuff like that. But that's kind of about where we're at right now.
So I would imagine that you were pretty close with your dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of brings me to the next part, obviously, with the loss of your dad. I would imagine, because I lost my mom a few years ago, and anytime you lose a parent, assuming that you have a good relationship with your parents, because unfortunately not everybody does, but that bond with the surviving parent really intensifies. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So earlier this year, which I didn't realize until, a while after you and I had started talking, like I had seen your Facebook posts and things, a lot of mention to your mother and the fact that she had passed away. I didn't realize, Jay, that had happened this year.
Yeah.
So was it very much like a similar circumstance with your dad, where you kind of knew it was coming, or was it something very out of the blue, nowhere?
With my mother, it was really out of the blue. Because with my dad, it was kind of, he was a smoker, had diagnosed with lung cancer, And so we kind of saw, you know, not to say we saw death coming necessarily, but it was one of them things where, you know, we knew what was going on. And with my mother, it was she passed away January 17th of this year, but of last year in December, late December, she started. She had high blood pressure, but never. It was never fatal. It was, you know, it was whenever we went to the doctor, did a checkup. It just seemed like everything was going to be okay, and nothing was ever too much of a emergency. And then things kind of got a little bit more severe. And the previous time that we went, they were talking about having a pacemaker set in. And so we kind of had that scheduled up, and that was the honestly the craziest thing though, bro, because um we went to the doctor, and like I said, it was nothing was an emergency. It just seemed like, okay, well, we'll just set this date up, we'll get a pacemaker set in, and then everything will be fine. And within probably, I would honestly say a week, she went from, because she was fit, even though she had, you know, minor health problems or whatever. She walked 3 miles a day. She still had a regular job at the Sunoco station. Um, you know, and just regular thing. But that was when I really knew something was wrong, is when she called into work. You know, because out of all these years and all the times, she never called into work. And so that's when I had the first clue that really, you know, something was really wrong. And then it honestly was right downhill. You know, she didn't want to go walk in. And then the worst was, you know, it was kind of day by day the way everything fell apart too. And then she, you know, she called me and she's like, Jay, I can't even check the mail. You know, could you come over and just check the mail for me? You know, and so then it was really getting serious. And the next day I went over to visit her in the morning, and she had passed.
Oh wow.
So
I man, number one, I can't tell you how sorry I am, you know,
thank
for all
you.
that, because a lot of that kind of mirrors what happened with my mom. You know, it was one of these things where, yeah, we're going to take her in the hospital for a checkup. Things weren't going right. You know, she had been in failing health, so we kind of seen it coming, but not accelerated the way that it did, because she never came back out of the hospital. You know, any other time that we've taken her in there, it's always been a day or two. She's right back home, right? So,
Right, right.
brother, man, my heart breaks when I hear that. But the thing about this, Jason, is the good that, if there was any good that came out of it, is, I would imagine for you, as it did for me, it kind of makes you reevaluate what's important in life, and that you
Absolutely.
maximize your minutes. That is a reoccurring theme on my podcast. It's a reoccurring theme on my YouTube show. You maximize your minutes.
Hmm.
You certainly do that, man. And I love reading and seeing your post on social media, because I have seen you do incredible things on with your videos, with basketball, with your strength training and all this stuff. You and I are the same age. You know, we're in our mid 40s. I've spent the last, 26 years as a professional wrestler,
Right.
and I couldn't do half of the shit that you do. It just blows my mind. But another thing that really drew me to your story is you you have such an aura about you. And what I mean by that is, you can tell that, other people mean so much to you. It's not all about you. You don't center your life all around what you want and what you need and this, that, and the other thing. You take what you have, which is a gift, in my opinion, your ability to inspire and to motivate people, and you share that with those people around you. I've seen your pictures from basketball and things of this nature, and I don't believe you have any clue as to what kind of impact that you do make on people. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to touch base with you, is to let you know, because I'm all about, shedding that light of positivity, and to let people know how important that they are. You are the epitome of that. You know what I'm saying? And I just, the only thing that I'm sad about, Jay, at this point, is that I didn't make a better effort to keep it, in some sort of contact with you after high school, because if you remember, I was a wrestling nerd. I got picked on all the time because I was a fake wrestling fan. And you were one of the few, brother, that always says, you do what you want, and I believe in you, and you can do this, and this, that, and the other thing. I never forgot that. So when you and I started reconnecting, that's the one thing that I took away, is in that aspect you haven't changed a whole lot. So I wanted you to know that.
Hey, I'll be honest with you, Jay. This is dead serious, man. All the nice things that you just said about me is the same for you, man. Because you were always, I was always inspired by you. The fact that you went and did pro wrestling. I mean, that's something that no one can say that they do. And the way that you were set, and that's what I remember too. The same thing that you just said in high school. You were set on it. It wasn't, hey, I like pro wrestling. Hey, this. You were like, I'm going to be a wrestler. And that's exactly where you are at.
Right.
And you say the great things that I do, man. I appreciate that. But it's the same for you. I couldn't go out and press slam some guys and close. And it's the same thing, man. It's just different gifts, and believe me, actually I saw one of your events. I wish I could remember the year. I can't. It was at the Emily City Fair.
Okay.
But I saw one of your events, and it was the same thing. I was so envious, man. I was like, man, I wish I could be out there, but honestly, Jay, you've had the same impact. You really have. It's just in two different ways, and the same thing for you. You're a genuine guy, man, genuine guy, and I always feel the same way, as like you lose contact, but the beauty of it is that we did have contact in the long run. Instead of, hey, they would have been awesome if we could have stayed in touch out of high school, but it's a blessing that right now we are. And that's how I look at it, is just, at least now I got you in my life again. So, and it's the same way, Jay. The things that you're doing, man, I couldn't be more proud of you, man. Seriously.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. I really do. And, in hindsight, while it would have been cool had we been able to maintain in constant contact from high school, I think now, because of the way we did go about things, our lives just, like I said earlier, I went one way, you went the other. But I think now, because we've been able to reconnect, I think in some ways it means more now, right? Because you kind of, what life is like without that person in it. And now that, here we are in 2020, we're at this point with the pandemic and everything, hanging out, every weekend is, less than ideal, but we'll get past that, I'm sure, eventually. But with the advent of social media and things like this, we have this ability. But I think, it really, it took a tragedy for us to get back on the same path. So when you look at it, like that, I've always been a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Yes. And I, my brother, and I didn't realize that you knew my brother on the level that you did. So when I started seeing your posts and your tributes and things to him, after the fact, number one, I was like, wow, I didn't realize that Jeff knew you on that level. And subsequently, what kind of impact you've made on his wife. And, it was like 2 days ago. I called her, to kind of check in and see how things were going, and I had made mention that you were coming onto the show, and she could not say enough nice things about you.
I appreciate
You want to talk about making an impact on somebody that, up until that point you didn't really know. You have made a significant impact on her. And, I don't even know if you realize how much, but kind of talk me through real quick, if you don't mind, how did you come to know Jeff, and what was the level of your guys' friendship?
Well, him playing, he was playing in the church league basketball, and I was assistant coach, and so it was kind of a coach. But the great thing was is we were close enough in age. It wasn't like a coaching status, where it was more of we could just hang out and play basketball, and if I gave him advice and he took it, it was something like that. And that's where we started, and then just kind of off and on I would see him, but he was always one of them guys that, just like you, man, just so cool. You couldn't help but love the guy, and that's just how it is. And we play, you have a sport in common, or you have a few things in common, and then just the relationship that you build, and just that kind of stuff. And it was funny because I never consistently saw Jeff, but when I did, it was always just like we picked up, I always felt like I picked up wherever we left off before, and yeah, and he was just a great, always polite, always, he would go out of his way to come say hi to me, if I saw him across the room or something, he was always awesome about just coming up and, hey, I saw, just talking and stuff like that. And yeah, man, just terrific, man. Great guy.
He certainly was. And he made a significant impact on a lot of people in a lot of different genres. Since everything has happened, I've heard stories from softball, from basketball,
Yeah.
obviously from professional wrestling. So I mean, he touched the lives of a lot of people, and I don't think he really understood the level of impact that he made, and especially on how many people. Because I mean, when everything happened, it was hundreds of people just flooded my inbox, flooded social media with their own tributes and things of this nature. And it was, that's what sucks about things like this is, it takes things like this for people to express their gratitude or their appreciation or whatever for everybody. And I don't necessarily think that should be the case. And that's why, I'm glad that there is these avenues of communication now. If you don't have the time to engage in a 20-minute phone call, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's all this other BS, but there's ways to communicate, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
Listen, brother, I know you have a lot of things happening today, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to bring you on the show, number one, and just number one, to see your face, and to actually have a face to look at while we communicate, and more importantly, just to let you know how special you are, how important you are, to me and to Melissa and to everybody that has the privilege of knowing you. And I can't say enough nice things about you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope nothing but the absolute best. And we have a new year coming up. So hopefully we can, get past this pandemic thing so you and I can sit down, face to face in person and share a beer and have a few stories along the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, Jason. First of all, for being for inviting me on your show, that means a lot. But just being the person that you are, man, and keep doing your thing. I'm proud of you, man, and I love you, man. You just keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing.
Well, I certainly
And
appreciate
if you need a tag team partner, if you need a tag team partner or a manager,
I know a guy. I think we can make that happen. All right, Jay. Well, thank you so much, brother, and I wish you nothing but the absolute best. And for those of you who are watching, don't go away. More of the Klaus to the Heart show is right after these messages. Hey, we appreciate you checking out this week's episode of the Klaus to the Heart Show on YouTube. And if you're digging what we're doing here, don't forget, every Tuesday morning at midnight, a new episode of the Klaus to the Heart podcast drops over on Anchor.fm, or it is available a half an hour later on Spotify. Don't forget the Klaus to the Heart podcast, every Tuesday morning at midnight, powered by Anchor.fm. Welcome back to the show. I certainly appreciate you tuning in this week, as always. And real quick, don't forget that the new episode of the podcast drops Tuesday morning at midnight. And for all the news and anything new in terms of upcoming show premieres here on YouTube, podcasts, things of this nature, you can check out all of our information at klaustotheheart.net. It is the official website for everything under the CTTH umbrella. So you just heard my interview with Jason Mudge, and I think for the majority of you, you can see why I wanted him on the show this week, because he is really, in my opinion, the epitome of a lot of the things I was going to talk about on this episode, specifically because we are entering this new year, and a lot of us are looking for that benchmark. We're looking for that time to hit the reset button, to get a clean slate, and I don't know if it's more of a mental thing or if it's a traditional thing, but I mean, this is the time that people really embrace the idea of doing everything they can to have a better year this year than they did last year. Perseverance and determination are going to be on full display, especially in this year, because we are coming off a 2020 that is going to have a tag of infamousy throughout the course of time. And I mean, it has just been one of those years that some people are not going to like talking about decades down the road when our grandkids ask us to tell them about 2020. A lot of us have been battered. We've been beaten down. We've been, affected in some way, shape, or form, and more often than not, it has not been of a positive manner. It has been, for a lot of us, a season in hell in some regards. But this is as good of an opportunity to kind of start on the clean slate, try to pick up on things that perhaps you may not have handled or done right in the past year, and use those lessons to improve who you are as a person. Because the sooner, and I find that if you set goals for yourself during the beginning of a new year, you're going to find that you'll probably have a greater success rate if you have a I don't want to say a clear conscience, because that's not the right word, but you've come to grips with things in your life that you know you didn't handle maybe exactly perfectly or properly. And, a lot of times we can sit there and look at things in hindsight and just, beat ourselves up until the cows come home, but it doesn't change the fact that what's done is done. You're not going to go back in time and redo that particular scene or circumstance. What you can do, though, is that you can take the lessons that you learned on what you didn't do right and apply those as you embark on this new year. With a new year comes new opportunities. And, every one of us, I gotta believe, is looking for the other side of this pandemic to try to get back to some sort of normalcy, or at least as close to it that we knew prior to COVID-19 becoming a worldwide pandemic. We all had rough years in some cases, but as they say, time marches on, and we certainly want to, what I like to call, maximize our minutes. When you maximize your minutes and you're getting as much out of each and every day that you are privileged with, then you're making some sort of strides to achieve these goals. See, and I talked about this last year. A lot of people will set New Year's resolutions. I don't do that. I have made no bones about the fact that I believe that New Year's resolutions have the opportunity to use a back door to escape the pressures and everything that goes into seeing your resolution through. When you hit one roadblock and all of a sudden it becomes too much of a thing and you want no part of it anymore. If you set a goal, you're gonna put more effort into it because it's something more meaningful. Perseverance and determination are going to be key aspects for you to get to your goal, to achieve that goal. Jason Mudge, you could tell during the course of that interview how much losing his parents affected him. It was written all over his face. You could hear it in his words. But if you know him on any level, you know what kind of person he is fundamentally, and how he has been able to use that heartbreak and that sense of loss as motivation to improve other people's lives. And I'm sure that a lot of that comes from the teachings that his parents handed down to him as he grew up to become the man that he is. Now, every one of us is human, and every one of us is going to make mistakes, and every one of us is going to be met with situations that it's really going to test our resolve. It's going to test how bad do we want to achieve these goals. Some cases are going to be far more worse than others. That's just the way that it goes. But with Jason, he's been able to turn those negatives into motivation, and he is really making a tremendous impact in people's lives. Even if they just see his videos that he posts on Facebook, the guy is in incredible shape, and he does incredible things throughout his exercise regimen that he has posted videos of. And as somebody that is the same age as he is, and I see what he's able to do, and just how great of shape that he's kept himself in is really inspiring. And he uses that same work ethic into every single aspect of his life, whether it happens at a rec center or the job site or wherever the case may be, because he's a genuine dude. And so I was real thrilled to have him on the show, because he, like I said before, he is a true example of what you can do when you have perseverance, when you have determination, and when you're willing to just, take the lumps that life hands you, take them, then you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you move on. That is certainly the case for a lot of us that are coming out of a tumultuous 2020 and need a fresh start in 2021. So, this is as good of time as any to hit that reset button. Clear your mind. Set goals for yourself. What went wrong last year that you can improve on this year? Now, I understand wholeheartedly that there are just some things in life that are out of our control. There is nothing that we are going to do to change those facts. That's the bitter part of life, and what's done is done. And while people have different ways of dealing with those significant challenges and obstacles and losses and things of that nature, under no circumstances should it really stop your growth as a human being, as a person, as an individual. Because in the event of loss, those individuals would want you to continue to move forward, to flourish, to succeed, to achieve the goals that you set for yourself. And there is no doubt that during the course of this new year, you will be met with other challenges and obstacles. But, the only person that's going to really achieve your goal is you. And depending on how bad you want it and what you want it for will determine, how much you're willing to put into it, how much perseverance, how much, the determination, and a strong work ethic. So it's all up to you. And for me personally, I am very much looking forward to a new year with new goals, new challenges, and seeing what I can accomplish this year. And I did the same thing last year. A lot of you did the same thing. As you came into this year, you set goals, and even amid all of the crap that we've seen and dealt with this year, a lot of people were able to check off a lot of those goals on their list. So it can be done. So with that, be awesome to yourself and to each other, and we will see you next time right here on the Close to the Heart Show on YouTube.com.